Thank you guys so much for getting me to 5,000 subscribers. So I just recently hit 5,000 subscribers and it literally blows my mind, and I'm so grateful for everybody supporting me and, you know, always boosting my channel, always recommending my channel. It like literally means everything to me. It's so cool that I get to have this community to talk about books with, because I literally don't have anybody in my real life to talk about books with, so it's really nice to come on YouTube, to come on Twitter, whatever, and just talk about books and talk about what we like or dislike and things like that. It's just so much fun. I feel like we have a really good solid community here, and I can't wait for it to grow even more and to have even more people to talk about books with. And I just love getting to interact with everybody and make new friends, and it's just so much fun. So I don't know, I'm just really happy about hitting 5,000. It's been like such a long journey for me, and I feel like a lot of my hard work and dedication is like really worked off, so it just feels really good. So I said I was going to do a Q&A, and I am delivering on that promise. I posted about it on Twitter and Instagram. I got quite a few responses, and I'm super excited to go through all of these questions and hopefully answer all of them. So I had to screenshot the ones from Instagram, and so the first one is from Rihanna McKinley. I hope that I'm saying your name correctly. I'm so sorry if I'm not. And the question is, who is your favorite Disney princess? And I feel like it kind of changes sometimes. I feel like sometimes my favorite would be like Elsa, sometimes my favorite would be Belle, but I feel like those are like the two solid ones that like I always choose. I typically go with Belle though. I feel like Belle is like my favorite princess. I just feel like we have a lot in common. We both love books, and I don't know, she's just like so iconic to me. But if we're talking about my favorite princess to meet in the parks, it would have to be Ariel, hands down. I love meeting Ariel. She's so much fun. I've only met Belle like once, and it was kind of awkward. But every time I meet Ariel at Disneyland, it's like the best experience. It's like unforgettable. So I just have to go with Ariel for that one, at least in the parks. Like in real life, Belle and Elsa. And then they also ask, what's your favorite book of all time? And I feel like that's such a hard question to answer, but I've recently started to just say And I Darken by Kirsten White. I love that book so much, literally more than like any other book I can think of. It's just, it has everything that I love about books. Like it has a villain origin story, it has sort of like a hate to love aspect, it has a lot of yearning, it's so slow burn, and it's just, and it's historical, so it's like literally everything that I love in a book is in And I Darken. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like my perfect book, really. I feel like you can't really get better than that. And also I love the characters like Lotta and Radu, like literally the two best main characters ever. I just love them. I love them so much. The next questions are from Seriously Cass, and this is still on Instagram. And the first question is, would you ever come to England? And I would love to go to England so bad. Like, if you knew me in high school, I was obsessed with the British YouTubers, which is just like, that's a whole nother conversation. I still watch a lot of British YouTubers, and it's just, that's how it is. I still watch Zoella, if that tells you anything. But I would love to go to England, and it's definitely something that I had been like wanting to work towards before all of this like coronavirus stuff happened, and now I'm like, I'm gonna put it on the back burner for now, but I do really want to go to England at some point, and it's definitely on my bucket list. The next question was favorite drink slash snack while reading, and it definitely has to be like iced coffee. It's just my favorite thing to make, and I'll just like drink it while I read. And then the third question is first book that got you into reading, and that's kind of difficult because I've always loved reading. Like even when I was like learning to read in like kindergarten, I was like all into reading, obsessed with it. So I don't really feel like there was like a singular book that necessarily got me into reading, because I've been a pretty consistent reader throughout my entire life. Like as a kid, I read a lot of like Junie B. Jones and stuff like that, and then I really got obsessed with Charlotte's Web. And I also got obsessed with Trumpet of the Swan, and then Ella Enchanted and stuff like that. That's kind of like, I feel like that's kind of where I started to learn like what my taste was in reading. So I guess that kind of counts. So like Charlotte's Web, Trumpet of the Swan, Ella Enchanted, those were like my main ones. Also Goosebumps. I loved Goosebumps. Like I read so many of those as a kid. Like they were literally my favorite. Any sort of scary storybook or like fairy tales or fables or whatever, like those sort of like story collections were also a favorite. So the next two questions also come from the same person, and that's what Do reads, or what Doe reads. And they asked, what Disney character do you relate to the most? And I have to say Elsa from Frozen. I feel like I relate to Elsa so much. And if you follow me on Twitter, you kind of know that because I talk about Elsa all the time. And also on one of my like side accounts on Twitter, my name is Bisexual Elsa because I love Elsa. I headcanon her as bisexual because I'm bisexual, so I'm like, this character that I relate to must be bisexual. Like, it's just, that's how it is for any characters that I relate to, but especially Elsa. I love Elsa. I read like Frozen fan fiction, but only about Elsa. Like, I only care about Elsa. As I say that with a little Anna pop socket. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, I have an Anna pop socket. I probably would have bought the Elsa one if they had had it in stock at Target, but they did not. They only had Anna, and I got her for like $2. Yeah. But yeah, definitely Elsa. I feel like especially with her songs, like, you know, Into the Unknown, Let It Go, all those songs, like those I can super relate to, and I just like really relate to her character. And especially the songs in the Frozen musical, like on Broadway, with like Monsters. Like Monsters is literally one of my favorite songs from that Broadway musical, and I just love it. And and I finally watched it when I got like really drunk one night, and I loved it. I loved it. It was amazing. The next question that they asked was, what's an underrated book you wished more people would read? Oh my gosh, I actually have a video about underrated books that I wish people would read, but I feel like the one that comes from the top of my head would be The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye. Literally, more people need to read this book because it's amazing. I loved it so much. I feel like not enough people have read that duology, and it's literally amazing. It's very similar to The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, but I personally think that The Crown's Game is a better book. I'm just saying. I think it's mainly because it's set in Russia. It has so much magic in it. It's so like beautifully atmospheric. Like the writing is gorgeous. And then it also has this love triangle that just works so perfectly. And I need to reread this duology, and maybe I'll like vlog it or something. It's gorgeous. It's so beautiful, and just like I said, the atmosphere, the setting, the characters, like everything is so lush, and it's just so beautiful, and everybody needs to read it. It's so good. I don't know, like even if you don't like historical fiction or fantasy or whatever, try it out. It's such a good book. I loved it so much, and it just has never left me, and I read it like 3 years ago. The next question is from Chapter the Next, and they ask, are you a fan of Disney's Hercules? And I have to say 100% yes. I love Disney's Hercules. I was obsessed with that movie as a kid. It came out, I want to say, when I was about 2 years old, and my mom claims that it's the first movie that I ever saw in theaters. I was about maybe 2 or 3, like almost 3, and I actually kind of remember seeing Hercules because I remember I'm like, Mom, was Hercules the first movie I ever saw in theaters? And she's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. So I think it might be, but it's also where I got my like total obsession of like Greek mythology and stuff like that. So I love Hercules. It's my favorite. Oh my god, I wanted to be Megara so bad. I would have totally dressed up for her for Halloween, but like there was never like a costume. And oh my god, I love Megara. She's amazing, iconic. And I loved the TV series on Disney Channel that they had like years and years ago. It was animated. I still watch it. It holds up perfectly. Oh my god, it had Cassandra, it had Icarus. Oh my god, it was literally amazing. You can't say you're a Greek mythology fan if you don't like Hercules and if you've never seen the TV show. You need to watch the TV show if you like Greek mythology. Like, you have to like Hercules. I'm sorry, it's just like, it's a rule. Like, so many other people are like, oh, Percy Jackson got me into Greek mythology. I'm like, dude, it was Hercules for me. Hercules is just like the best movie. It has like a most amazing music. The animation is just impeccable. It's impeccable. It's so gorgeous. So yeah, I love Disney's Hercules. I could probably talk about it for like a whole video. The next question is from Wordsborne, and they ask, what is the most stressful thing about Booktube? I don't really know. I feel like the most stressful thing for me personally is trying to come up with video ideas, especially video ideas that are super original. that's like the hardest part for me. Like I have to really rack my brain to come up with like really individual, like original ideas. So I feel like that's like the most stressful part for me. Even when I'm just like kind of in like a rut and I'm like, what can I film? And I'm just like, I blank on every single video idea I've ever had. So I need to remember to write down my ideas more often, because sometimes I'll come up with good ideas and then not write them down, and I'm like, I can't remember them. So I have a really bad memory, so there's no way they're like staying up in my brain. Okay, moving on to the Twitter questions. I have quite a few of those as well. And Tetra asks, what would be your most self-indulgent dream book to write? Tropes, genre, setting, etc. Whatever comes to mind. I feel like I'm actually currently writing my most indulgent like work in progress I've ever done. It deals a lot with like royalty and magic, and there's also a bit of like a villain origin story aspect to it as well. And there's like a fat main character, there's a lot of like family drama, and so I feel like that's all a lot of things that I would love to read in a book and that I actively seek out in books. And it's also what I want to write. So I feel like I already kind of am writing my like dream novel, like the one that I'm like, you know what, just write it. Don't even worry about it, just write it, because you're gonna like totally regret not writing it. The next question is from Julia, and she says, if you could rewrite one plot point in the entire Star Wars canon, what would you change? Oh my gosh, that's such like a hard question to be put on the spot for, because I feel like there's so much I would change. But there's also some parts of Star Wars that I just haven't seen yet. Like I'm only on like season 4 on the Clone Wars, so I feel like once I watch all of that, I might have a different opinion, because I feel like I might. But just going based off of what I've seen so far, which is basically everything else except for Clone Wars and the other animated show. I'd have to ask my brother. My brother always knows what I'm talking about. But the other one, I can't remember what it's called. Okay, so this is tough, because I want to say I would change Finn's character development, but I feel like I would have to go all the way back to The Force Awakens and shift it pretty... Oh my god, did you hear that? But I feel like I would have to go back to The Force Awakens and shift it super early on. Like, I enjoy Finn's character development in The Last Jedi, but only kind of in a vacuum, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really like Finn's development as a whole, like throughout any of the movies. But in The Last Jedi, it totally makes sense, and I totally get what they were doing. I just wanted him to be more. Like, I feel like, you know, I disagree with people who say that he was relegated to like a side character, because he had like this huge character changing plot in The Last Jedi. And I think that more he was actually put as a side character in the last movie. So like, either I would change it from the very beginning and completely scrap everything, or I would wait until the last movie and change it around, because I feel like in the last movie he didn't really have anything to do. At least in The Last Jedi he had stuff to do. Like, he was actively pushing the plot forward, actively pushing his own character development forward. But in The Rise of Skywalker he totally wasn't. Like, he was like basically a spectator the entire movie. And so I'm like, I want to change his character so badly, because I love John Boyega and he is such an amazing actor. He really worked with what he was given, and I think that he deserves so much more. So I would probably go with Finn's character. The next question is from the Bibliothèque, and she says, congrats, thank you so much. And then the question is, this is kind of cheesy, but what's your favorite thing about Booktube? So I feel like I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I feel like my favorite part of Booktube is the community that I've gotten to be a part of, and getting to talk to people about books, getting to talk to people about characters and ships and tropes. And it's just so much fun, and it just gives me so much joy, because I've never had like friends who love books. Like, I've never really gotten to sit with friends and be like, so the books that we're reading, like, let's talk about them. But now, being part of Booktube, Book Twitter, Bookstagram, it's like I get to have all of these people that also read, and we just talk about books, and it's so much fun. And I get to have like these friends who are reading the same books that I'm reading, and or even just reading different books than I'm reading, and we get to talk about them, and it's just so much fun. The next questions are from Margaret, and she asks top 5 Disney villains. Oh my gosh, 5. I guess we'll go from 1 all the way down. So the first one is Prince Hans. He is number 1. He is the king of my heart. I love him. I would, you know, marry him in a second if he was real. I'm literally obsessed with Prince Hans. It happened. I remember the first time I saw Frozen, even before I saw Frozen, I was already in love with Prince Hans, and he has caused me so much heartbreak. And I love him so much. I hate the way that they treat him, but he's like that one where, like, you know how people on Twitter are like, don't baby your favorite villains or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And I get it for other villains. Like, I try not to do that with anybody else except for Hans. Like, I baby Hans so much. I'm just like, I have so many headcanons. And I just love him. I don't know. I love Hans. I could talk about him. I could make an entire video about Prince Hans and my love for him and why I love him, and like, I just love him. And then my second favorite is Gaston. I love Gaston. He might also be kind of one that I baby a little bit. I know it's bad. I actually met Gaston finally at Disneyland about like a year or so ago, and I almost died. And I love this. I love telling this story because it's just my favorite thing that's ever happened at Disneyland. Well, one of my favorite things. So ever since New Fantasyland in Walt Disney World was like grand opening, they've had Gaston in Florida. And I was always like, I'm never gonna get to go back to Florida. I'm never gonna get to meet him. They're gonna take him away before I get back. And I'm never gonna get to see him, and I'm gonna be really sad, and it's gonna make me cry. Because Gaston was like, I need him in my life. I need him in my life. He's like, at that point, he was my favorite villain because I hadn't seen Frozen yet. And so it was always Gaston. But then years and years and years later, I think sometime in like 2018, 2019, I finally got to meet Gaston when I was at Disneyland, and basically me and my friend were taking pictures in front of the castle, and out of the corner of my eye, I see red. And I'm like, no, it can't be. It cannot be. It cannot be. And I like slowly turn my head, and there he is. He's literally yards away from us. And I'm like, I almost started crying. I screamed. Like, not screamed, okay? I was just like, oh my God. And my friend Emma, she's like, what? What's going on? And I'm like, Gaston! Gaston's over there! It was so embarrassing, and she's like, okay, we gotta go. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. So we went over to him. He only was talking to one little kid. No one was in his line, not a single soul. And so we walk over, we kind of wait, we linger, and he and that little boy were so flippin' cute. My heart melted. My heart melted. I'll insert pictures of me actually meeting Gaston, but the great thing is that when he was done with the little boy, like that family had left, he walked over to us and we like started talking, and then he's like, you know what, there's too much sun over here, let's move over here into the shade, it'll be so much nicer. And I was just like, yes, let's go. Sorry, this is turning into like a story time. And so we walk over to like the shady area, and I think, did he start taking, I think he took pictures with me first, and I was like shocked by this interaction, because I've had really amazing interactions before, and maybe one day I'll talk about them in a video if that's like interesting to anybody, because I have so many stories about character interactions, because I do them so often. Like almost every time I go, I make sure to interact at least with like one character, because they're kind of my favorite part of going to Disneyland. And so I was shocked though, because he was just like perfect. He was like the perfect Gaston, so flirty, so charming, so arrogant, and like he like took my hand, and like I kind of had my hand back here like on the railing just to kind of like lean back and like, you know, cash, and then he literally took my hand, like literally grabbed my hand, like not like hard or anything, like very like nice, and like placed it around him, and I was just like and you'll see it in the pictures, but like I was on cloud 9. I was like So yeah, that was like just a wonderful experience. I loved it. I died. My third favorite is Hades. I love Hades. So that's 3. My fourth one is definitely Jafar. Jafar is literally just, I don't know, there's something about him. He's also a really good villain. So yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with Captain Hook. I would also say Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog. Love him. I've never met him in person. Like, I've seen him in person at like Disneyland, but I've never actually gotten to go up and meet him, so I'm kind of salty about that. The next question is from Kiara Cappuccino on Twitter, and they ask, do you listen to anything while writing? If yes, what? So I actually have a couple writing playlists. I have one that's like my main writing playlist that has like over 300 songs on it, and it's really, really old. And then currently I'm using a different playlist, and that one's like specifically curated for my work in progress that I'm writing right now. And so I'll also link that one down below. And that one has more like Broadway music on it, surprisingly. And then my older writing playlist has a lot more like indie stuff. So kind of a different, you know, vibe for each playlist. I also really like listening to London Grammar. I like listening to Halsey. I like listening to just like random like movie scores, like Star Wars is really good for writing. Little Women, also really good for writing the 1994 version. So yeah, like it's just like a lot of movie scores. Ooh, Anna Karenina has a really great movie score. So yeah, just like all of those things are just like, that's what I listen to while I'm writing. The next question is from Let Me In The Lib, and they say, congrats again on 5K, thank you. And then the question is, which books do you wish you could unread/read for the first time? I feel like that would definitely go to like Six of Crows, because I kind of read it before I got on book Twitter, before I got on Booktube, and I just didn't really have the context for it. It was really one of the first like actual fantasy books that I'd ever read, and so I just didn't have, you know, all of like the fantasy context that I really needed. So I really wish that I could unread it and read it again with all of the knowledge that I have now. The next question is from Kiana, and she asks, what is your all-time favorite spiritual slash self-help book? Oh my god, I can't speak. I'm so sorry. So I haven't read a self-help book in a really, really long time. I do actually have a video about self-help books from like years and years ago, so I could probably link that down below. I think my favorite one that I can think of off the top of my head would probably be Big Magic, and I loved that book. I thought it was so, you know, inspiring. I really, really liked everything that was in that book, and I actually did listen to the podcast for a little while, and that was also really good as well. So definitely Big Magic. I can't really think of any other ones that I'm like super into anymore. I haven't read a real self-help book in a while, so maybe I might need to get into those more. The next question is from Lush Luxury, and they ask, what tropes do you want to see more often in book slash film slash media, and what do you want to see less often or not at all? I feel like that's really hard. I feel like for the tropes that I would like to see less would definitely be like girl hate or like a mean girl. I feel like those are way too played out and just kind of boring. And like, I feel like if you're gonna do a mean girl, do them differently and don't do them the same way that we've been doing them for decades. Like, I feel like the mean girl in To All the Boys I Loved Before is a really good example of like, that's boring. Like, don't do that. Like, I'm tired of it now. Like, just Genevieve, I didn't like her. I didn't find her really interesting. I don't like her character at all. I feel like, you know, she could have been rewritten. And then for like things I want to see more of, I want to see more family dynamics. Like, I'm just so intrigued by family dynamics, even if they're like really unhealthy or just like really toxic. I'm like, yeah, give me that stuff. I really love family dynamics. I think they're so interesting and I would love to see them more. The next question is from Troy Nicole, and I love her so much, and she asks, if you could live in any Disney fictional world, which one would it be? Oh my gosh, okay, that's a really good question, because I'm like, I don't know, there's so many good ones to choose from. I feel like maybe I would want to live in Arendelle. I feel like it's, you know, a pretty good place to live, maybe? I don't know. I think I would probably like to live in Arendelle. I love the clothes, I love the style, I love, you know, the people there seem nice. I would want to meet Olaf and Elsa and Anna. So probably Arendelle. The next question is from Wicked Story 24, and they ask favorite Disney songs. I actually have a playlist. I know, I keep saying that. I'm like, I'm gonna link the playlist down below. But I think that my favorite Disney song has to be Love is an Open Door. And that's actually not on the playlist, I don't think. So Love is an Open Door from Frozen. I love it. It's like, you have Prince Hans, and I don't know, like the lyrics are just so good. I feel like it's not like a good song to talk about because it's not very deep. It's not like super like, oh my god, life-changing. It's just a fun song. Like, I want my favorite song to just be like a fun song. And so yeah, definitely Love is an Open Door. It's like literally my favorite song. The next question is from Child of Hades 19, and they ask, which Disney retelling do you want ASAP and from which author? I love this question so much. I feel like I really want, I don't know. I can't think of one. I'm just like, what do I really want one of? I really want a Rapunzel retelling, and I feel like, you know what? I'm gonna go with Tahada I'm gonna go with Tahada because I feel like she could really do Tangled right. Does that make sense? Because I really love Tahada writing style. I love how descriptive she is. I love her flowery language. And I feel like that would fit perfectly with Tangled. Like, wouldn't it? And I'd want her to make it like super diverse, like a brown main character. I would love that. Like, wouldn't that be such a good idea? And Tahada is such an amazing writer. So I love her. I just like, I could gush about her forever. I think that she would do really well with Rapunzel. And then the very last question that I have is, which book characters do you identify or connect with the most? And oh my gosh, oh, that's really hard because I feel like there's not necessarily one character that I relate to the most. There's a bunch of different characters that I relate to on different levels and for different reasons. I remember when I was reading Shatter Me, I really related to Juliet. Like I was like, I'm Juliet, that, you know, I relate to her so much. I would read her lines in the books so often just to myself and pretending like I was her. So I want to say Juliet Ferrars from Shatter Me, but I don't know. I feel like I also kind of relate to Jamie from A Study in Charlotte. I feel like I'm a lot like him. He's kind of awkward, but you know, kind of smart also. And I really love him. And he's one of the few like male main characters that I actually enjoy reading his perspective. And so I feel like I can relate to him a lot. Definitely I'm part Juliet, part Jamie. Does that make any sense? Probably not. Wow, so I answered all of those questions. I hope you guys enjoyed that. My throat, it's going. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had so much fun getting to read every question and answer every question, and hopefully I can get this edited down enough to where I can actually post it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. So yeah, thank you guys again so much for 5,000 subscribers. It means literally the world to me. I've been doing Booktube for 3 years now, and I just feel like I've grown so much on Booktube, and I've met so many new people, so many new friends, and I'm so grateful for you guys. So yeah, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! Ooh, I thought it'd be me and you.